right, everybody. Hi, and welcome to the official Body Spartan podcast. My name is Gabe Tuft. I am the founder of Body Spartan, and I'm your host for the next hour. And with me tonight is the incredibly lovely, wonderfully delicious, oozer of all things mind and soul powered. I'm running out of things to do differently than I did last week. Yeah. Go ahead, girl. Take over.
First Lady of Body Spartan, Priscilla Tuft.
Yep, I'm out of accolades. Oh, my God. And we also have tonight joining us the incredible IFBB Bikini Pro and the creator of the upcoming Revolution 2, Christina Williams.
Does this mean I get to be number 2?
Number 2.
Ooh, so dangerous.
Number 2.
It's a little dangerous.
I mean, I'll be Priscilla's psychic any day.
So I don't think we've ever disclosed how Christina and I have combined energies.
Oh, I think it's
Wait,
How
what?
it happened was at the gym.
Yes.
And I felt this energy from across the room. And really, I didn't even see how cute her booty was. Legitimately, I felt this girl's energy from the other side of the freaking gym. And I felt magnetized and compelled with the two girls I was working out with to leave the bicep machine, to leave the abdominal area and make our way to the cables, where this little hot nugget was sitting there cranking out reps going, like, I was like, whoa, what even are you? I mean, really, like force of freaking nature, my people.
You know what's really funny? I remember the very moment, and I just remember taking it all in. And I remember thinking, I hope this fucking woman is for real. Because she is, and we need to clone her. Forget like cloning our pets that have passed on. Let's just clone 1,000,000 Priscillas so that we can just live in this fucking amazing world. Because I'm telling you, I remember that moment, and there's very few moments I meet when I actually, except for like your true love, which of course, you are definitely one of my soulmates. But I remember the look on your face, and I just remember like how special that moment was. And
I was looking at you in disbelief.
Yeah.
I'm like, is this girl for real?
And I actually think about that moment every time I see you get up and start talking.
I love you. Thank you for holding that. You guys,
as for us,
if you see another girl in the gym and you get jealous, do you understand how much you are stepping on your own freaking foot?
Yeah.
You can take a female, for example, or a male can take a male and bring that energy inside of yourself to catapult your own goals and your own wisdom.
And that combination is just, it's so powerful that it's very moving.
Because the girls that would like fight in college or in high school.
I went to all guys school. But
of course you did. Well, you're 90% male. I got a girl
one of 8
lady
women.
up all the time. Like, yeah, she looks like a girl on the outside, but she's so hardcore on the inside that I have to give her lots of hugs, lots of squeezes, and try to find ways to take care of her.
To bring it
because
out.
this woman makes it freaking happen. Like nobody does enough for her. Like this woman is okay. So I'm just gonna break it down for just a minute.
Break it down.
So you were pretty much a single mom for most of your child's like, how do you even, I can't
15.
even.
She's almost 15.
And this child is amazing. She babysits my child.
My daughter Petra, she's pretty cool.
And she's
And
awesome.
I'm like, who raised this human? Like she comes over, she babysits my kid, takes care of her better than I do. Just
oh my God, stop it.
And then she goes and she does my dishes.
Yeah.
And then I see my child, she's sitting there with like hair perfectly parted. And like she's sitting there like cross-legged, like staring at the walls, but like also strangely happy. And then she's like, Mommy, Petra made me eat peanut butter and apples. And I don't like peanut butter and apples, but for some reason I ate it.
Yeah.
And
if
I
only
feel
she could do the dishes at my house, not just your house.
But you raised one heck of a kid and ran your own company.
2 of them at the same time.
Freaking, you guys, hello.
I know.
And these are ideas that came out of her own head. It's not like she's like, I'm gonna just like, I don't know, do
some of them I literally woke up and I was like, we're gonna do this. Talk about manifesting.
I know. Talk about manifesting and like guided and like led. And that's the kind of energy that I felt off this girl.
And actually, we've manifested all of our projects together. I would say you and I have started the inception of the idea came from you, and then just our energies have come together. And what's really crazy is I wasn't probably because I was raised and even went through most of my my schooling with primarily men. There's not a lot of fostering of that connectivity to one's soul and your environment, and I'll just say universes beyond. And you have always brought that front and center, which has always made me more present with myself and has given me this calm ability really to achieve that much more. I'm always very thankful for that and for both of you. A little love fest for having tonight.
So
And I feel like we
so
hold
much
space.
love.
I know.
We hold space for one another, and that's creative, energetic space, because you guys attracts like.
Yeah.
And so when you see somebody with your similar energy, like heavens, God
Like a mirror.
Almighty, don't freaking yes,
Like a mirror.
like a mirror.
Embrace it, yeah.
Yes, and you guys can use each other's energy.
Yeah.
To catalyze something so much better.
It's scary for people, though, I think. And that's what you're seeing. I think what you mentioned, the first part in the gym, is that the first thing we wonder is, what does this mean about me? If there's someone out there that looks like that, and you actually see this a lot in bodybuilding, when you have a bodybuilder friend or you have someone that starts competing, is they're thinking, wow, this person is light years above me. And they're achieving these goals. What a piece of fucking shit I must be, man. Because I could not have finished
There
this meal
it
plan
is.
today.
Preach.
And I didn't drink my water, and that muffin is looking good.
Yeah.
What does this mean about me? And the reality is, it means nothing about you. And it means everything about that person. And if you reserve enough love and acceptance, then you can accept that that's the journey and the path they're on and their decisions. And it allows you to free yourself so you can focus and concentrate on really what really is about
And
you.
you can freaking synergize. Like,
Yeah.
I was talking to one of my girlfriends on the phone today, and she's like spiritual woo-woo hardcore like me. You know, she gets the dreams, she gets the visions, she has these things, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was told divinely that it is a Bible verse, like iron sharpens iron, but I saw two knives scraping against one another. And when I saw Christina filming in my living room today, I saw the two knives sharpening together. It's like iron
Yeah.
sharpens iron. And the stronger you are, and the stronger that they are, the stronger that you can be together.
Yeah.
So today I walk in and I was craving some sweets. I was like, okay, I want something really sweet and really indulgent. But I looked down at Christina's abs and I was like, I'm not having that. I am not having that. And so I took my girls to the coffee shop and I got a black coffee, boring black coffee, and got them the muffin. But did I have a muffin that would have gone to my butt? No, I didn't, because Christina's abs inspired me.
I mean, you know what? Here's the funny thing about it is that I tell people, they're like, how do you do it? And I tell people, we're like going to go get naked on stage in front of like 1,000 people. If being a competitor is not the number one thing that keeps you on track, I don't know what is.
Truth.
You know what I mean? Because you can't undo it. And so I always tell people that when you start something, when you set a goal, go tell 3 people. And the reason is because they will look for that attachment every time they see you, and they will ask you how you're doing. And, you know, it doesn't have to be like a parent or just a family member or whatnot, but especially in the gym. And I don't care what the goals are. Go tell 3 random people, because I promise you, it will keep you honest. And in reality, that's a lot of what this is. That's what kept you honest today.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Is how do I set up these things? And I know that we're going to talk about some really great topics today, but it's about holding oneself accountable really when no one's looking. And what keeps you honest? And honestly,
honest as the sirens are going in the background, you're like, what keeps you honest? Like, pew, 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 pew,
well, definitely
pew.
not getting arrested would be a good thing.
No, this is not. Well, I hope it's not coming from one of us. It might be.
I mean, it depends. Can we have some fun?
then-
Would it be worth it? Or
Right? I know what's in that tea. What's really in that
It's
tea?
really just, you know what's so funny you say that is, as I showed up to the podcast, and thank God Gabe picked me up because we had some trouble today.
You did. You had a very interesting morning.
I did. I had a character building morning, which I'm sure we can talk about later.
Very good.
Was so different
I like how
from
you put
last
that.
week's podcast where I show up and Howie was high at Costco, and then he
Oh my
shows up with the Jack or whatever you guys are drinking, and
Yeah.
I'm drinking water, and I come into Gabe and he's like, "Would you care for a cup of tea?" And I said, "Well, what do we have?" And he says, "Mother's milk, or we have raspberry."
Do you want to start
So I
lactating again?
immediately texted a picture to Aaron, the boyfriend, and I go, "Babe, which one are we doing?"
What was his response?
He literally gave me the emoji like the your choice.
I'm down to try strange
actually-
things.
So one of the girls
Options. He
from
likes
our
options.
transformation team, she just got pregnant. So she has this amazing transformation, and then she gets
Christina
pregnant.
I love it.
Clavel, right?
Yeah,
And
congratulations.
Christina with a K.
Yes.
And so anybody who hasn't heard of mother's milk tea and happens to be lactating, or if you want to keep lactating just for the fun of it, because it's awesome, or
maybe
start. I don't know, maybe possibly. I met this guy named Ted Keys, who is from Traditional Medicinal Teas, and he gave me.
Ted is?
He was.
Ted D's.
He was
Ted
Ted
Keys.
Keys from
Keys.
Traditional Medicinal Teas. Ted
From
Keys from
24 Hour, older black guy, like super ripped.
Oh my God, I know him.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
awesome, dude.
He
He's
was
the
with
coolest guy.
Traditional Medicinal, and I
You know,
got
he's an
low.
IFBB Pro.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
He's, for
he's
his,
amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, and
So
he's like
he's the
in
one
his
that
50s.
gave that to you?
Yeah, he just
Yes,
got done
bless
with Olympia.
his soul. So,
Wow.
so
Aw.
I got into a car accident like 9 or 10 months after Mia was born, and my milk was like, we can't do this anymore. And then I don't know how he found out. He was talking about teas, and he's like, oh, you've got a baby. I don't know how it was totally non-awkward because he's not even
Wow.
like weird like that.
Yeah, Ted's like dad material. You don't.
He is
He's
dad
like-
material.
Yeah,
but he has
he's-
these beats that he wears with his towel underneath because he and I both
does.
needed to replace them like 8 years ago. But they're still kind of like, they still work. They're just kind of.
He's always got his
getting-
towel over his head and then the beats over.
He's such a cool
He's
guy.
amazing. I love
He's
that guy.
And his son is cool. He's awesome.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
love him because he's a pastor's kid like me, and we're both like trying to like not relive the trauma. No, we're good. And so he gave me the mother's milk tea. I am still lactating. My daughter is 7. I'm not even joking. Wait,
wow,
should I
Gabe,
say
how
that?
do you feel about that?
He loves
I'm the
He's
guy
like,
that
well, like-
actually is like, you can just put that in my tea.
I was just going to say, I actually been looking at all of these alternative milks, like almond milk. They have an oat milk now. I mean,
oat
Priscilla,
milk?
are you like offering some shit up or
Pass
what?
your tea
How are we
over.
doing this? Do we just got to
Well,
hook you up to a
what's
pump?
I mean, I
crazy.
like a little bit in my raspberry tea because I didn't go with
Squirt
it.
it on
Last
in.
week, or actually no, 3 days ago, I healed my daughter's ear infection.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, Mom,
Okay.
you're
You're
in
not
the
healing
milk.
Gabe's. You're like,
Well,
I
actually,
healed his-
I happened to get pink eye. It was like a year
What?
ago, right?
3 times.
Yeah, so I got pink eye. I have a
probably
7-year-old.
dirty hands in the gym.
It
and
could
wiping
be,
your
but I have a
face.
7-year-old. You know, she's
And a
who
butt.
knows? Who knows what happened? And I got a dog that drags her butt all over pillows and carpets. So I don't know.
I was going to do
maybe-
that earlier today, but
Well,
we were
yeah.
filming. I didn't want it to get caught on camera again.
So I come down with pink eye. Never. God, you're killing me. You got a visual of Christina dragging her butt
You're
like a
welcome.
dog
I got to
over
really
the-
up a game from last week's podcast. What are we going to say?
So I come down with pink eye,
I'm
and
checking
it's
the
just
pillows.
crazy. So I'm going, dude. I gotta get a doctor's appointment. My doctor didn't have an appointment for like a week. I'm all, dude, I can't live with this. I'm gonna have to
Seriously.
go to the emergency room, and I don't want to pay hundreds of dollars to the emergency room. Priscilla goes, well, you know. This is me pointing at Priscilla, going, you know, and she goes, breast milk is a cure for pink eye. I'm like, get out of here.
Wow.
You guys, anybody who's lactating
I
or
was
pregnant,
just like,
listen to this right
little
now.
in the eye,
And
little in the
not
mouth.
those of you who are not
little in the
taking
eye,
estrogen
little in the
blockers.
mouth.
No,
Everything
it
was,
did
it was
not.
great.
It wasn't like that.
It was like that later.
Mostly. But
Mostly.
Then actually that was the time when Brandon Griffins was living with us, and he's like
Oh,
dying laughing. He's like, I have pink eye too. We're like,
you had Brandon living with you?
Yeah,
like 3 months.
He
It
was he was in a bad way for a
Okay.
while, and he needed a place to crash. And
Okay.
he lived on my couch for 3 months.
Wow.
It was.
it was fam bam.
You know, I
he-
love
mean,
this,
that's
though.
why we're so like we were close before. We're family then.
Yeah.
But
I-
it's like
I love
dude,
this though.
He's like a
my
brother.
car breaks down. I've had 4 rides today.
That's
from
what we
the
do
Body
for
Spartan
fam,
group.
yo.
I know.
That's what we do. We
I
don't
know.
need. We don't. I mean, Uber's cool and all, but like,
You,
why waste
you
the
act
money when
like
you got
we're
fam?
like so sweet to you, but really we just keep demanding from
Dude, so-
you.
When
Chris-
that bitch comes
we're
over,
gonna
we're
need
putting her
you to
back to work,
film.
but we'll just go pick her up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
we're gonna need you to film anyways, and we're also gonna need you to podcast. Oh, your car's broken down.
That is
yeah,
actually
you're still
so
gonna
not
need to
true.
be there.
Because let me tell you, that's not true. Because the first time I had to borrow this car, the last car that I had, I don't know what it is. The Christina and the fucking car trouble. Okay, we're trying. This year is gonna be different. All
I
right.
swear, 2019.
And let me
Christina
tell you, I
smacked it out
literally
of you
used
or
their car
something.
for maybe like 2 weeks. For those of you guys, like, I mean, I know a lot of you have probably been following Gabe and Priscilla, but let me just tell you, they really are family. And
Aw.
I'm a bit of a bitch from time to time, most of the time. And to be able to like come to a place and like feel like you are family, you are welcome, and the good kind, not the kind that's fighting at Thanksgiving. That really is these two here, and I just have
We
to say
love
that.
you so
and that's a little
much.
shout for them, but like you really are.
That's
you
because
really are
we gave you
amazing.
tea tonight. That's really why you just wanted my
You want
raspberry
to know
tea.
what's really in the tea?
Yeah. Bzz,
Well,
squish, squish.
It shows through a lot, so I'm very thankful.
Well, all right, guys. Tonight we're going to be talking about 5 life-changing secrets that Priscilla, Christina, and I have picked up over the years that we use on pretty much a daily basis, and we're going to give those to you one at a time. But before we do, I want to just give a quick plug for the All Access Pass. If you don't have it, you haven't tried it, we have completely changed our business model. And what we're doing is we're offering you guys every single program that we've ever done, every program that we ever will do, and we're going to give it to you for a ultra low monthly price and a 14-day free trial. So you get access to everything free for 14 days. And I was sitting there today and I was typing up an email. I'm scheduling it for this weekend, trying to get stuff done ahead of time. And as I'm writing this is basically what I said at the end of one of the emails. I just said, look, guys, you want to lose body fat really fast. We have our Ignite 28-day reboot program. It's 28 days. It's a keto diet, and it's deficit macros, and it's intense. People they drop tons of body fat on it, and they actually gain some muscle while they're doing it. But I basically said it like this. I said, look, guys, right now, until I have time to get our website developer off of Forge 5 and Rev 2 and everything else, I said, dude, Ignite it's a PDF. You get your macros in the dashboard, of course, but you download the PDF. Everything's there. And I said, in half the program, so in 14 days, you can see some major progress. And guess what? If you cancel the trial, you get to keep the PDF. Well,
you know what I love about that 14 days is anybody that listened to the podcast from last week is part of what I mentioned is that people give up in 3. And so for you, if you really want to make a commitment to something, and I think keto is one, you have to start keto and you have to really make that commitment and go all in. But 14 days is enough for you to see that your efforts start matching your results. And I'm a big proponent on that because what happens to people is that they really do want to make that life change. And if they start something and doesn't start seeing results, they lose this window of time that they're willing to make that commitment. Yes. I mean, it's kind of like going out with somebody that you're really not into them. You know what I mean? Like, how many fucking dates are we going to give this dude where, they're not opening the door, they're trying to look like they're going to split the dinner, and you're like, you know what, I'm just not feeling it.
Well, what do you have that? Do you know what that window is?
For most of it's 3 weeks.
It's 3 weeks.
I mean, having coached for the last 8 years, it's 3 weeks.
So if you don't see results in 3 weeks, you're bailing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, most people are bailing. That's
bailing.
About the limited amount of effort that they have. And so that's the good thing. And I was trying to figure out what the free trial range would be for people. Yeah. And I'm like,
I think 2 weeks
3 days isn't enough for people to even get started. A week, they probably sat around for a day or two, didn't do anything. They lost a couple days, and they're probably getting a couple workouts in. I said, you know what, 2 weeks.
But they're going to see that. I mean, they're going to see it on the second week. Because the first week is always kind of their acclimating from their normal life into any plan. And
well, my hope is that we can figure out a way, I think through, I'm setting up all these new emails for the All Access Pass. I'm going to try to really motivate people to get started right away.
Yeah.
I want them to see it. I want them to watch the preseason videos or download one of the program PDFs immediately.
Yeah.
As soon as they sign up and they're motivated, I want them to download that. And I want them to read it. I want them to start watching. That way the next day, they can jump into the gym and know what they're doing. And so that's what I'm saying. Like with Ignite, I'm like, it's 14 days, but it's a PDF. Yo, if you keep that, dude, we were charging $60 for Ignite at one point, you know? I'm like, here's a full 28-day program that I'm just going to give you. And I'm like, I hope that you wouldn't just download it and cancel right away because, that kind of sucks for everybody. I would hope that you would try it, see how freaking awesome it is, and then come back for more. So what we're doing is we're offering you a 14-day free trial of the All Access Pass. And like I said, every program is in there. Christina's Revolution 2 will go live at the end of June.
So excited.
Brian Cage's Forge 5 will go live at the end of this month. And then Danny Broadhurst, our NPC competitor, he did a Facebook Live tonight. If you guys missed it, it was awesome. He was cooking for like an hour.
Oh, I love it.
And answered a bunch of questions. He is doing the Big Arm Bible 2, so he's in development with that right now. So those are 3 we got coming out. I promised you guys for a year. We got to figure out what the next one is going to be, and maybe more. So that's what's coming. Also, right now, guys, we are doing a special for May. Because April showers bring May flowers, and then it's suns out, guns out.
Yeah, that's a perfect precursor into the 28-day program.
Thank you. Well, the promo for May is supplements are 35% off, and you get free shipping all through May, and all you got to do is use May 35 at checkout. So that's what's going on. That's what's new and exciting in Body Spartan. I just got to give that because, you know what, guys? We're here to help, and our programs, we truly, truly believe in them. We put a lot of work into them, and that is what gets results.
And you know, if you really want to afford that this month, to be honest with you, just don't buy 4 Starbucks coffees, because that's really what we're talking about. I seriously, my daughter is always bugging me every morning to pick up that goddamn Starbucks. And after I looked at the sodium content, I'm like, you're eating none of this food. But you literally walk away and it's like $24 later, and you're like, what did I just drink to buy? I mean, which is crazy. I tell people, I'm like, look, if you really want to make a life change, you're spending more money at Starbucks in a couple of days than you are for you to feel better every day. Then we seriously need to look at our life priorities and where we're putting our money.
So that is a great point. I wrote, sending an email to somebody today, speaking of emails, and I was trying to show them, they were asking about the All Access Pass, and I said, hey man, if you go out, it's a Starbucks. The average cost across the nation right now, it was 2018 for a venti latte is $4.15.
I think now it's like $7.
Is it really?
I swear to God, a venti, yeah.
So let's say that was and they secretly raised their prices recently at Starbucks.
And I love you guys, but here's the thing: if you're looking for a discount on your life, come on. I mean, seriously, you barely, you can't even buy a DVD for this, like for real.
And that's what I'm getting at, like $4.15 a week to go to Starbucks, and that's not even including tax.
Unreal.
If you multiply that by 4, so you got 4 weeks every month. If you multiply that by 4, it's like $16.60. The All Access Pass is just slightly more expensive than that.
I don't think it's money, to be honest with you.
It's like, dude, so you buy a pastry there, and there you go, $20 a month. I mean, that's really, really what it boils down to.
Do I get to eat my pastry on my mouth?
Are you having the morning bun, or are you having the pumpkin bread, Christina?
Well, it depends. It depends.
Depends what kind of mood I'm in. All right, well, let's dive into the 5 life-changing secrets. And we're going to start with number 1. And this one is something that I've talked about in seminars. It was one of oh God, and I'm fighting a sinus infection, and there is no. Oh, okay, hang on. Hey, Christina, go! Yeah. I'm going to get some toilet paper here to blow my nose.
All right, so we're talking about being limitless, and so Gabe sent out these topics for us to pontificate on. And you know what's really crazy is I'm actually a product of a very bad childhood. I mean, you name it, it happened. And what I see is a lot of people kind of resting on these excuses that we wake up with every single day about our situation or our past or whatever we want to hang our hat on. And what's crazy is I always have this one line, and people, you could say whatever you want, but we had the same books in school. And the difference between having the same books and ending up in maybe the situation that you're in and being where I'm at, which is self-made. I've won and lost my own sense of small fortune, but you just got to buy your plane ticket and everything else works itself out. And sometimes your dreams, at least for me, had to be so silly. I literally woke up, and I think I told everybody on the last podcast that I literally looked over at my sister-in-law at the time, and I go, I'm going to be a Victoria's Secret model. And the look on her face was fucking comedy hour. And it had nothing to do with anything other than it literally just came to me. And I was like, no, I'm going to do this. And I had resolved, right? We hear a lot about that.
Resolved.
I had resolved to make a change. And I didn't know how I was going to get there. I didn't know what I was going to do. You eat an elephant one bite at a time. And I literally just started very small.
And I think this, number 1 obviously is being limitless. And sorry, guys, I did have to blow some snot out my nose here. This fucking sinus infection. But like Christina was saying, we all have stories and we have backgrounds that we've come from. And somewhere along the line, we were told that we couldn't do something. And like I said, I talked about this in our seminars. I use the analogy that everybody can relate to. So let's go back to, let's say, hey Pete, when you were 5, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I can't tell you.
Stripper?
I had no context for that.
Okay, maybe 6 or 7?
No, I still didn't want to be a stripper.
No, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Now? What are you doing later tonight?
At 5 years old, I can't say that. I wanted to be a shepherd.
Oh, look, she's so cute. This nose that she's making right now.
The pastor's kid. You wanted to be a shepherd.
That
is really sweet.
And I just I imagine myself out there. No, see, I'm gonna get all sentimental and cry because I realized that I did become a shepherd. You
really did.
Yeah.
I gather the people and I bless their lives, and I'm like,
you lead us.
I gather my tribe for sure.
Now, there was a time though when you thought that wasn't going to happen.
They're like, that's so old school and barbaric.
Did they say it just
you're not going to go out there and slay the wolves. And I'm like, you better believe I am.
Who is telling you no?
Oh, my brother.
Yeah, so those the closest to us are always the naysayers.
Yeah. What about you, Christina? So, when you were young.
I wanted food actually in the house. So I literally grew up with no food in the house. My mom was like a prostitute, taken away at 7.
Whoa.
I literally walked to school every day with a baggie of powdered sugar.
For your lunch?
Yeah, and I really had no idea that wasn't like a thing.
Wait. Okay,
Yeah.
This I haven't. So did you live with a foster family?
No, I got taken away at 7 to live with my grandmother and my grandfather.
So while you're with your mom, you were walking to school with a bag of powdered sugar.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I don't even fucking know how I knew how to get to school. Like in kindergarten, I literally was walking by myself.
In kindergarten?
Swear to God.
How did nobody figure that out, though? Seriously. Like, you see a child with sugar for lunch.
So I'm 42. And they did not give a shit. You see these things.
To me.
I
can't even imagine.
Now looking
we
back.
micromanage our children these days.
We do today.
Wait, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Milpitas, born and raised.
Still, like a kid just doesn't walk to and from kindergarten without being noticed.
They do.
Well, apparently they did.
You will. I mean, literally, I don't even know how I got to school. I can assure you.
Wow.
Yeah. It's crazy to look back. And
like, wouldn't somebody give you a sandwich like a teacher? Like,
so actually, what's really funny is I grew up with some really weird traits. Weird now because if you try to socialize them to having a child do them today, but I guarantee you this is happening everywhere. We just don't talk about it. And the child that's going through it has no fucking idea. So I'll tell you a quick story about my mom. I remember telling my mom, you need to give me $1 every day just in case my name is not on the lunch card line. Because we had money for school, right? From the city or whatnot. And there was one day she didn't give me the fucking $1. And I show up to school and Murphy's Law, my name was not on the lunch line. It must have been the first of the month when they restack all the kids.
Okay.
And I fucking sat there and I cried. And I remember cursing my mom and my situation because I had no food. I had nothing to eat. There was no snack. And some kids actually saw me. This is true. I think people look at me and they're like, how the fuck is that even possible? It's very possible. And so kids that were working inside the cafeteria saw me crying and came out and they were like, what's wrong? And I was like, my name is somehow not on the list. And they brought me inside to the cafeteria and gave me a lunch. And let me tell you right now, it actually, talk about living limitless.
Right.
It started to create some, I'll say positive and negative traits depending on how you carry them throughout your life and your relationships. But it started to give me this sense of you're not fucking around with me. And when I tell you what I want and what I need, you're going to do it. And if you don't, I'm going to work around you.
That's towards your mom.
Towards everyone.
Oh.
And so I went home that day and I told my mom at 7 years old, you will give me that $1 every day. And as a matter of fact, I'm just going to take it from you and I'm going to safety pin it inside this coat. And that is where it will stay. Because I can't trust you. I can't trust anyone else. And I will be damned if I'm not going to eat.
Well, this backfired on me. No, this is an amazing story.
Thank you, sorry.
It says volumes about where your character comes from and how your determination and drive that you have now as a grown woman pursuing your businesses and your careers. And now, you're with us pushing forward, building this business with us. And, both Priscilla and I, we see how hard you work and your determination.
Thank you.
So this makes a lot of sense of where it comes from.
Yeah.
Now,
and that was the first moment that I remember.
I mean, that's just incredible. So the analogy I was trying to make was the old, hey, I want to be a fireman, or I want to be a doctor, or I want to be an attorney. I want to be president of the United States.
Just eat.
I was hoping that one of you ladies would say something like, oh, I want to be a veterinarian.
No, let's just eat. Let's just start very
okay,
basic.
I did. Okay, I will play into this. I wanted to have a monkey. And I was told that it would throw poop at me. And that it was illegal. Can it? I was told that it would throw poop at me and that it was illegal to have a monkey. And then my dad said that he had a friend with a monkey and the monkey hung itself until monkeys die.
Oh my God.
And so that, and then I don't have the proper,
Scarring.
and I'm like, I just want a freaking chimpanzee with a freaking diaper.
A big one.
A moderate sized diaper on a big ass chimpanzee.
So it can shit in it so it doesn't throw it at you.
Exactly.
Which is very, very practical.
That's all I want. They can't
totally
throw
with
it.
you.
No, I was told they would reach into their diaper
Stop
and
it.
throw my brother. Seriously, so
I
scarring.
think I dated a guy that
So
did that
I was
once.
told that I could not have a monkey. And
is-
I still kind of believe I can't have a monkey. Does this
It kind
help
of
you?
does that.
Gabe,
Okay.
have
We're
you
trying to
told
help
her
you.
that
Help
she
us help
cannot
you.
have a monkey?
No, I was like, hey, if you want a monkey, that's cool, but it just can't be in this house. So you would have to actually go
Taya's
buy
kinda
your,
like a
your own
monkey.
house.
Taya throws
and-
poop.
Or maybe build a granny unit
We
in the
actually
backyard for
found
it.
two
I don't
pieces
know.
of poop on the carpet earlier
No,
today.
you did
Sean,
not.
We did.
That
Oh,
dog,
what?
We did. Okay,
this
so
dog,
two
we
pieces
have a
of
geriatric
something.
chihuahua.
Yeah, so there was two pieces of something a little unrecognizable. I didn't want to touch it.
Oh.
So Sean and I leaned down on the ground and I go, hey, is that food? And Sean goes, I don't know. I go, smell it. So he literally picked up both and he goes, I don't think it's food.
He
I
picked
said,
them up with his bare
he
hands?
really did.
With his bare
I
hands.
really did. And I go,
no.
Sean, this is why we love you.
Sean picked up dog
Well, you know,
turd.
the alternative was me leaving it and stepping in it.
Oh
and
my
that was going to be a bad idea. And I really loved Gabe and
I'm so
Priscilla.
embarrassed.
So for those of you that
But
don't
we do have a
follow us
15-year-old
on
chihuahua.
a regular basis, we've got a geriatric chihuahua who cannot control her bowels. And so they kind of sometimes just fall
Occasionally
out. Like
there's-
she will be walking and
Occasionally.
they just like rabbit pellets like
Yep.
coming
Yes,
out.
it's two pieces of rabbit
That's
belly.
literally what happens. She'll
And
just
so
kind of
we-
walk around like,
we
"Boop."
follow her with tissues and
Yeah.
flush them. And
well, you left and she kind of had a freak out moment. And
I know. I'm sorry.
no,
I wanted to bring
please.
her, couldn't bring her.
Oh,
I
man,
think
she
Sullivan,
cried.
Aaron's dog, is like adopted me, and I feel bad because tonight's the first night that he's with Sullivan without him. And Sullivan was walking around San Francisco so slow, looking back, thinking, "Where's mom? Where's mom?" I just feel so loved. So sorry, babe.
Well, okay, so all this
Back to
goodness, all
limits.
I'm trying to say is that somewhere, and this, I know this happened to everybody. Priscilla, it happened to be a monkey for you. Christina, I'm not quite sure yet, but let me make my point.
She
Basically,
wanted food?
She wanted food, and somebody told you that you couldn't. The idea is that somewhere along the line, somebody told you you couldn't, you sucked, that you can't because of this reason. Boom. And when we started to believe that, so in your head it was formed, I can't have a monkey. And Christina, it was at one point it was like, I can't have food, and then you completely snapped, and you're like, I'm having food no matter how
you know
fuck
what
I
it
get
is?
it.
Lady, you're gonna give me $1.
I think the set of circumstances were so dramatic that it created this ability to really be resilient, and that resiliency created a limitless life.
Okay, I like where you're going with that.
And that's really what because people ask me all the time, they're like, how did you fucking do this and how did you do that? And when you jump without a rope, if you guys have seen the Batman movie where the one child he survives, this is one where they're like in the pit.
Which one?
This is one where the guy had
Oh,
the
you're
mask.
talking about like one with Bane?
Yeah.
It was Rise of the Dark Knight.
And they said,
Yeah.
oh, there's only one kid that's ever
Dark Knight
survived.
Rises.
And they said, why did he survive? And they said, because he jumped without a rope. And so really when you create a child or anyone that their fundamental needs have not been met and they learn how to protect them and they really learn the skills, then you really don't have any limits. Because really, what else are you going to do?
Well, let's look at people that are full grown and they're stuck in their job or they're stuck wherever they are. They go to the gym. They're not seeing progress.
You are really trying to make these notes happen, aren't you?
It's not the notes. It's that I really want to, I'm
They're
trying.
important
We've
topics.
told people we're going to give them 5 life-changing secrets, and being limitless is one of them. And it's so easy to say, oh, hey, hey, P, just be limitless. You're like, oh, okay, cool. I'll be limitless.
Hey.
On Tuesday. I'm going to do it on Tuesday.
I mean, exactly.
Yeah,
and so
I'm
you
gonna
have
do
to
that.
understand that somewhere along the line, somebody told you no.
Yeah.
And you believe that you couldn't do something. And the point is, until that point, we were all limitless. We thought we could do anything. We thought we could go to the moon. We thought we could be an astronaut. At least I did. I wanted to be in NASA. I wanted to go to space camp. And I was told no, because it was too expensive. There were a lot of other things that I wanted
You
to
wanted
do.
to be a football player, and your mom said no because you're going to hit your head, and then you became a pro
You
wrestler
know what?
who danced in your panties in front of millions of people.
That is true. That is also true. But yeah, I did want to play football because all the cool kids played football, and I was not cool in high school. I was anything but cool. I was a little nerd that wandered the halls. I would seriously, like, I had 2 friends, and if either of them were sick or both of them weren't there for some reason, I would just walk around the halls like, please, God, don't let anybody know that I don't have any friends, and I'm just going to keep walking around looking like I have something to do.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so like You don't walk the halls, friend. What you do is you go to the bathroom and you eat your lunch in the stall because nobody's
is that what it was?
That's what I did.
If I had known that, it would have changed my
Yeah,
whole
Or
life.
they were like little secret cuts, like I
Yeah.
knew to like go in
Look
the
how
tunnel
scary
or behind
recesses.
the-
You know what's so funny
It's
is
terrifying.
It's something that as adults we kind of I think block out.
Yeah.
But people don't realize those 15 fucking minutes or that 30 minutes that you have to survive as if you have friends.
Make or break you.
But you know what? You know what though? I have a question for you, Gabe. Though, is because living limitless, right? For those of us that have really encountered some serious life-changing. I know with your brother. I know with growing up. I've heard your story several times with Priscilla. For the average person, I mean, our 100% is still 100%. But for somebody that it's out there, and maybe they're trying to maybe they're not quite as extreme with these whys, these overcoming whys. How do you get them to transition out of this lane that is like survival for us? And maybe it's like a little bit slower than, eating, right? Or breathing, right? And how do you give them that power of feeling limitless? Because in reality, that's where most people sit.
Yeah, they're not at
Hopefully.
the extreme end of the
Hopefully.
spectrum like you were, where you have to eat or you're not going to survive.
Yeah.
Or my story, I lost my brother to suicide, and it changed my whole life. What's your story, P?
You were talking about being limitless.
I was trying to just loop everybody in, but the point is, oh wait, what'd you say?
Oh, I said darling.
Oh, I thought you said my daughter. I'm like, yeah, well, that's
No.
part
But
of it.
that's a great why, though,
And so-
right? A lot of people have kids, and so one of the things they're trying to emulate is show their kids.
Yes.
I think, you know what? Maybe I didn't have all these hardships, right? Like some of our experiences, but you know what? Now I have this person that's walking in my shoes and is watching me. And we started this topic about you guys talking about how great my daughter Petra was. It's my job. I don't want her to be raped. I don't want her to live with no food. I don't want her to go through all these things that I went through, but yet still be able to have these gifts where she can have these takeaways, that she can understand the power that I've been able to harness.
Right.
Living
Totally.
without limits, without having the experience of the negativity.
It's an opportunity to see where we went astray on the path, where basically we grew up, we found that we did have limits, or we thought we had limits. They're mental limits. And you mentioned a minute ago about people that aren't in the fast lane, people that are driving, at 55 or 60, driving the speed
Right.
limit. Let's say they're just driving the speed limit, going along, and they're like, this is what I do. I go to work every day. I come home, I do this, I do that. And I'm going to watch sports. We were just talking about that earlier when we were downstairs, getting my tea. We were talking about people that just go and watch sports. And what do you do when you're in that situation? How do you realize that you are limitless? It starts by getting avatars and having an understanding of where you want to go. And those two totally different thoughts and strategies. But let's start with knowing where you want to go. You got to have a clear vision of what it is that you want. So I use avatars for just about everything.
And can you explain what an avatar is? Because
Yeah.
I'm thinking this a
You're thinking
bluish
about it.
green animal.
Yeah, I knew it. The anime. Oh, you think of the show?
I mean,
I'm like, some people think of the M. Night Shyamalan movie. Some people think about the comic. And then they were thinking about the actual...
the actual movie Avatar.
The actual movie Avatar. So an avatar is a person that you look up to, a person that you aspire to be like. You call them your role model, your hero, or her. Basically the person that has been there, done that, owns the game.
Like an alter ego of yourself or of another person?
Not necessarily. So
Okay.
an avatar for me back when I started bodybuilding was Kai Green.
Okay.
So I would watch everything, like start to finish. I watched every documentary he did. I watched all of his videos on YouTube. I eat, slept, and breathed Kai Green content so I could learn.
Yeah.
Same thing with Gary Vaynerchuk. So Gary owns the New York Jets. He owns VaynerMedia, and he started basically the first wine club, and that was his thing. He's an entrepreneur. He comes from nothing, built everything up on cash, kind of the same way Body Spartan did when I had nothing when Priscilla and I started this, built it up on cash, and now he's hundreds of millions of dollars a year. So that's my avatar for business.
Yeah.
So what I tell people is know where it is you want to go. And so having an avatar helps you understand, you can be limitless. Because most of the time, these avatars, they have very similar stories. And although they may come from a very extreme part where, your mom was a prostitute and you had to get $1 every day to eat. And if you didn't, you don't eat, or you walked to school with a bag of sugar. That may not be everybody's case. Like you said, if it's not your case, you can at least understand the steps that they took and go, well, shit, if they can do it, And here I am.
Yeah.
I'm making money. I got a family. I got a house, or I don't have a house. I got an apartment. I got my car payment. I'm okay.
Yeah.
First world problems. You live in the first world life. It's like, yo, all I got to do is open my eyes and figure out, okay, I got to take some risks, but I could be limitless.
Yeah.
It's not like, every time an astronaut goes up into space, there isn't risk. I mean, we found that out with the Challenger. That's like, there's fucking risk. But they do it. They take the chances. They take the leaps. And with the biggest risk comes the biggest reward. So, guys, girls, bullet point number 1, be limitless. Free your mind. Understand that if there is something that you want to accomplish, just like when you were young, the answer is yes. You can absolutely do it. Will it take hard fucking work? Totally. I mean, the chances of, everyone's like, oh, I'm just going to win the lottery and get rich. I'm like, dude, fuck that. I mean, that's ridiculous.
That money wouldn't make them happy anyways.
Well, yeah, true, but it's going to take hard work, and it doesn't happen overnight.
Well, and I think that's what a lot of people, if you look at Kobe Bryant and you hear any of the talks that about winning for the Lakers over so many years, it's not the winning and the championship that they really celebrate. It's their love of the hard work.
Yeah.
And what's so funny is that I find a lot of times when we're starting something, we can't wait to get in the groove. I cannot wait to be 3 weeks into a program. Why? Because I've suffered through the first part where I'm talking myself out of it. And it's part of one of the reasons why I started my professional career running is because, well, fuck, if you run 3 miles away from home, you got to run 3 miles back. And so it was kind
this
of
was before Uber, by the way.
It was. Now I'm moonlighting because, can't eat sugar. No, I'm kidding. But it's like, how do you set those things? And it really was like picking, and to be honest with you, goals. I am probably one of the and I was telling Gabe as we were walking up to the house today before we started the podcast, was I put so many pots on the stove because something that I did 5 years ago is just now hitting. And people don't realize that, because what they'll do is they'll look at me, they'll look at you, Gabe, they'll look at Priscilla, they'll look at Gary Vee, they'll look at these other things, and they'll be like, well, fuck, they make it look so easy. What they don't see is the shit that we do that's not sexy, that nobody wants to do, the staying up hours and hours and the, trying to be a perfectionist.
It's the no filter life.
It really is.
Yeah.
And if you watch my story today on Body Spartan and I didn't have lashes on, none of this shit. Why? Because it wasn't adding value to what I needed to do today.
Yes.
What I needed to do today was wake up. I needed to create content. I needed to write some plans to try to change people's lives. And that had nothing to do with whether I put lipstick on or whether my tennis shoes. I didn't even brush my teeth.
Well, shit, I'm glad you're sitting 10 feet away from me.
But you see what I'm saying is it's all this work behind the scenes, and half the shit I'm doing is probably wrong. I'm often like with social media and with your websites and media branding and things like that, but creating content and all these pieces, you got to work.
And this is great because it leads right into our second point. So number 1, be limitless. 2, let's talk about point number 2. I'm trying to make the build, Christina. Jesus Christ.
He said I'm the only one that cuts him off.
God, I'm trying to build this up and not give it away. I'm trying to do a little something.
Sorry. I got excited.
There's my lungs coming up. So you're talking about having all these pots in the fire. So irons in the skillet, pots in the fire. Means you got a lot of projects going on. And basically, I was the same way when Body Spartan started. I had all these things going on, and I wanted one of them to tip. Body Spartan tipped. And when Body Spartan tipped, and we started actually doing really well with it, then I'm like, oh, hey, let's do this, and let's do this, and let's do this. And I started doing all these other things, and I was failing miserably at all these other endeavors. We tried the Edge project, which was basically a vapable B12 pen that we were hopefully going to.
Oh, wow.
It was great to start with, but I just couldn't. I don't even have anymore. There was logistics issues. All the issues of a brand new startup, and we were pretty much first to the scene with it. But because I was stretched so thin between Body Spartan and Edge, and then my CMO, which is Chief Marketing Officer for anybody that doesn't know, Brian Fikes. Him and I, he presented to me another thing was like an insurance deal that we were trying to build some websites for insurance for, I think it was schools or something like that. And we needed an investment there. So I put some money in, and then I was torn. Now I'm torn 3 different ways.
Yeah.
And what I learned, each one of those potential companies, they failed. And they failed hard. And I lost all the investments. So, thousands of dollars gone, all my time gone, and Body Spartan suffered. So what is the point I'm trying to make is that you need to embrace your failure. Bullet point number 2, guys, embrace your failure. Most people, when they fail, they go in a corner and they cry. Or they get really fucking pissed off and they'll go yell at something. You know, it's like the dad fails. Something happens and he yells at the wife. The wife yells at the kid. The dad yells at the kid kicks the dog fucking chases the cat eats the mouse. You know, it's like this downward spiral that everybody gets into because we view failure as something negative.
Yeah.
And speaking of Gary Vee, he has a really interesting standpoint on this, which I've actually embraced because, again, we're talking about avatars from earlier, from being limitless. Gary Vee is my business avatar, or one of them. And he's got a really interesting standpoint. He goes, I love failure. I welcome it. And it's because he learns from it. So he goes, okay, it's a challenge. And if I fail, okay, I learned, I didn't, how can I say this? He basically says something to the effect of, I didn't fail. I learned how not to do it. That was actually Edison. I didn't fail. I learned it's the whole light bulb thing. But Gary, he has a story where he says at his most stressful moments, when he's experiencing failure, he takes a step back and he pretends that someone calls him on the phone and tells him that his mother or his daughter were killed. I'm like, talk about super morbid, but you suddenly get extremely grateful for the things in your life. And that changes his perspective. And that pulls him out of that, oh shit, I'm feeling that downward spiral we were just talking about. It pulls him out of that. And it allows him to be grateful for the things that truly matter in life. But what I also think happens there is that the frontal cortex opens up on your brain, the problem-solving area of your brain. And the difference in people that fail and go cry in a corner and get beat down and they have that downward spiral and the people that become successful and embrace failure is that they learn from their failures and they figure out, okay, I needed to get from point A to point B. I didn't get to point B. I failed. Why did I fail? And they're able to be completely objective with themselves. You get to step out of your body, step out of your situation, look at it from 30,000 feet up from an airplane, from space, and go, okay, I got the big picture. This is what I did wrong. And you have to be able to accept the fact that, yeah, okay, I fucked up somewhere along the line. And you have to be okay with saying, my fault.
Yeah, I think it's
my fault.
That insecurity.
Yeah, and then how do I change it so that when I go do it again, I just jump over that hurdle, or I plow through it like a fucking freight train, you know?
I think the first part is, and I've been in 3 industries, and I've made it to the top of 2, and I've royally fucked myself on the 3rd. It creates an insecurity, especially for those of us that are trying to be very high achievers, which is very difficult. And it's almost like you have to separate yourself from the reality that's you. And sometimes the you is not ready to succeed. And I'll give you a little bit of an insight. So I was in shipping and logistics for 16 years, and I left that to start a beauty manufacturing company. Oh. And I literally am like $700,000 into that company. And we won't go into talking about that in detail. But I failed. I failed pretty fucking royally. And I had to start coaching.
That's a big hit.
I literally sold everything that I owned because I believed so much in what we were doing and in what we were trying to create and what we did create. And sometimes things are just not the right time.
But you were all in.
I'm always all in because
I love that. Laser focused.
I will buy my lottery ticket before I'll buy anybody else's. But before I'll buy the California State Lottery.
Yeah, I got you.
You know what I mean? And but it brought me to coaching, and it also brought me to bodybuilding. And so sometimes you don't know why you're doing what you're doing, and you just keep going.
Well, let's look at this. So you look at the ways that your beauty manufacturing company failed. Like, what was one of the major components that led to the failure of that company? And let's look at this and analyze it. So that way everybody can kind of look at it and go, oh, okay, I see what they're trying to say.
The hard part was, and we're very honest on this fucking
Gotta be 100% transparent.
I had, never put the fucking industrial engineer and the CEO in front of customers.
Okay.
Because my job should not have been forward facing. That's the first thing. I think the second thing was you have to make sure that that they want to eat when you eat. Because when people have their hand out and they want to get paid and you're literally writing checks out of your own pocket, that's a whole different value proposition.
So would you say that one of the lessons that you learned was culture in the company? and sharing the vision?
I think wanting it to work so bad and wanting the personality types that I had put and that the team had put in certain places, it just, and we ran out of money. And it's fucking expensive.
But you didn't answer. I said, was it culture? So you said very specifically.
Was it culture?
You said you got to make sure that the people that you're paying, they want to eat when you want to eat.
Yeah, I don't.
So is that a thing where they're just like, I just want my paycheck and I want to go home, or was it, or were you looking for people that were more invested in the company that would be like, yo, I will do anything to make this company survive?
I think I was entering in. First of all, we were trying to create something that didn't exist. And we did create something that didn't exist. I think the challenge is that you have to make sure that you understand the industry you're going in. Now, you're taking someone that came from shipping and logistics and the military, and you're putting them in the hair space.
And so, wait, what was your position? Were you the industrial engineer? Or were you the CEO?
I was CEO.
This was your baby.
It was my money.
And so you said don't put the CEO and the industrial engineer in front of customers.
Okay, so an industrial engineer... But you said
that like somebody made you do that.
Well, what it was is that...
Did somebody make you do that?
I think that my story was so
and you
compelling.
Thought it was the right thing to do?
Actually, no, not at all. Because I was always telling people
I'm poking.
I know you are. It's totally fine. So, for example, like when we came to branding, right? Even the company name and every derivation of that, I really didn't care. My job was, what does the customer think? What does the partners think? What does the team think? Because I'm a fucking engineer. The last thing I know is what colors we should use, okay? I would wake up every morning and go to my assistant holding a pair of shoes and I go, can you pick an outfit to go out with this? I mean, literally, like that is my lane. My lane was in the garage making shit with the engineers themselves. And to be honest with you, an engineering mind is not that of an artist's mind. An artist's mind wants to look at the beauty and the feelings that were evoked from an image.
Okay, so this is what I'm picking up, is that as CEO, you wanted to be behind the scenes more because your talents lied in being in, building the product, making sure the product worked, it was all that stuff. Okay, and you did not want to worry about what fucking color should the logo look like.
I really
this.
don't care.
Is red a power color that's going to jive with it? Should it be pastel pink?
I really don't care.
Now, contrast with me. My lesson in the past was because Body Spartan imploded at one point. Like,
right.
I don't think people ever knew this, but I fired a lot of people. Like, I was just like, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone, done. Like behind the scenes, people just got axed because I was bleeding out. But I recognized that it was because I did the opposite. So I gave certain people, I delegated responsibilities to people, like figure out the branding or make the videos the way I would make them or manage the money or manage the advertising. And what I learned, and it's probably different than your lesson, what I learned is that as a CEO, it is my responsibility, chief executive officer, to have a handle on everything that goes on in the business, which right now, why we're running at a skeleton crew and I'm doing everything. So I have a full understanding of like, okay, you know what? The logo looks good. And you know what? Hey, by the way, Sean, I don't like the way that these featured images look like. I don't like the text. Change them. They're not powerful enough. Go figure it out. Go.
Yeah.
Or, hey, dude, you know what? Use this font. Here's an example. Go. So I'm way more involved than I ever. It was basically like I'm building the company from the ground up again, and it's me doing everything. But my lesson that I learned, because I failed hard. I mean, I lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the company almost imploded at one point.
Yeah.
And now we're turning it around. My lesson is that I embraced that failure, and I said, okay, how does this not happen again? I can never, ever be so far removed from those things that I just talked about.
On the rebuild.
On the rebuild.
Yeah.
Because if I am, the same thing will happen.
Yeah.
So I can't get in this repetitive cycle. And I'm honest with myself. I said, this was my fault. I fucked up.
Yeah.
I should never have let go of all this. But I learned the hard way. And I guarantee it, if I were to ever start another company aside from Body Spartan, once this is completely self-running, I would never make those mistakes ever again. And I'm super careful about who I bring on board now. That's why I have you. That's why I have Cage.
Yeah.
That's why Sean is still with us. That's why Priscilla's here and Howard. Like, these are the people that actually put in the effort, and they eat when I want to eat.
Yeah.
It's like, we got to get this shit done, and we're all in. You guys all have that attitude. Now, with your company, I think maybe what you might have learned is that you you should hire what you
You know what it was?
what I think you may have learned. The lesson in this for you is that you would need to hire people that can make those decisions for you, but that they're also in sync with your vision.
Well, you know what it was is I was such a young CEO that I always felt like I needed. I used to always, I would drive and I would call my grandfather and I go, I need a mentor, because if you guys ever watched that show, Silicon Valley, that shit was happening to me every fucking day. And I remember going in and I remember somebody was asking me for a co-founder position. And I thought, why is this guy who can barely make a fucking conference call asking me for a co-founder's title? And there were all these words that went along with it. And I just thought.
So why was he asking you though?
Because what happens is that when a company does very well, they can tie that back and they can get more money than what they were worth. And what I didn't know as a young CEO, and I literally felt like there was 1,000-pound person sitting on my chest every day, and I was having a hard time making decisions because every fucking decision when you're writing every dollar coming out of your pocket, it's yours. You're eating with that money.
Yeah.
And not only that, it could be the last one that you have to make the next big decision, which could be the one that, gets you going.
Or it totally breaks you.
Correct.
But that's a CEO's job is to
That
make
is their
decisions.
job. That is their job.
And that's the other thing I learned.
That is
it's
their job.
not to so much be in the trenches where actually
Yeah.
I am now and everybody is again, but it's to make decisions, make them confidently,
Yeah.
basically weigh the options and go, okay, for the company, this is the best choice. Do I hire a co-founder? Yeah. And at the time, it probably seemed like a good choice to you. I'm
no,
guessing.
actually, I told him no.
Oh, so you told him to
I
fuck
told him
off.
no.
Okay.
Yeah, but you know what it was is, and if I do not run my company now this way, but if I were to go back and do it all over again, being the visionary and being that person, no, I wouldn't want to delegate those things, and I wasn't really trying to. I think I was trying to be respectful of my team.
So then, leading into
So actually,
the third,
our stories were actually very similar.
well, so leading into the third point, then, so you were talking to say you're about to say what you were going to do different.
Yeah.
So be willing to change is the third bullet point. Number 1, be limitless. 2, embrace failure. And 3, be willing to change. So doing it all over again, what would you change? If you had to change it, if you had to look at yourself and admit fault and admit failure,
Yeah.
what would you change? And if you could do that all over again, go, hey, okay, this is how I build this company all over again.
So we actually spent over 4 years in R&D. So basically what the company had 9 products and services that were going to go to market. And we only made to market with 1. And what it was a new method of hair extensions that you can put in under 45 minutes with no chemicals, no glue, and no damage.
I could have swore you were going to say it was like a new version of the Fleshlight.
Oh. I was not here.
I know.
We have the wives who are trying to be.
yeah.
And you know what? I don't really think there's ever going to be a new version other than unless it's like your wife on a stick. And that could be the new name. And if that's what you guys
Wife
wanted
on
to
a
call
stick?
it, then my royalties would,
Speaking of which, she had to step out for a minute, guys. So that's why you're not hearing her chime in. She'll be back shortly. But I do like that. Wife on a stick. That's good. That's good.
To make the wife feel good that you're watching porn behind her back when
it's
she
like, hey,
gets
no,
home.
babe, it's you on a stick. It's cool. But what would you do differently? So how would you embrace the change?
I would. So we had literally signed some really, really, really big names right off the bat. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't do it like that at all. I would really take more
big
of a
names to have the C-level positions. Is that what we're talking about?
No,
so what were the
like
big
we
names?
had stylists that were working for the NFL Network, for ESPN. We had
to help
celebrity
develop
stylists.
the
to really push the brand.
So was it development or was it to help the brand? Like to just put their
Never to
name
help
on the
development.
product?
No, just to put their name on the product.
Okay.
But what you have to understand is that spending 4 years in R&D creating something from scratch that doesn't exist, that literally like actuates and goes through this whole thing. And let me tell you, it works. I wear them every single day. Okay. Yeah. But you know what it was is that that's a lot of time and a lot of money in R&D. And what would happen was what bled us was that engineers really had us by the balls. And we were so scared to not have the guy that was going to help us build this fucking thing. And we ended up spending a lot of time and a lot of money. And that's the number one thing a company that is a killer is time.
It's totally it. And that's something that everybody that's listening right now can relate, because if you're starting your own business or you feel like you want to put something out there, you always feel like it's got to be perfect. It has to be like the perfect version. You have to have the perfect website. You have to have the perfect sound on your podcast. You have to have the perfect graphics.
It'll never be perfect.
You have to have the perfect image, and you have to have just enough followers before you launch. And just like you just said,
Time.
It will never be perfect. And
Yeah.
time is the killer. And what happens if you don't put your foot out there?
And execute.
Yeah, take massive action. You have to execute the plan, and you have to be able to make changes to it. Again, when I started Body Spartan, dude, I built the website by myself, and it was pretty shitty. I mean, I'll just say, but it was out there, you know. And the videos we took, they were iPhone clips. I put them together on the iPhone, and I stuck them out there. We took photos with our iPhones. I mean, I literally paid $20 a shirt. I had shirts made and stamped by, you know, a local printing guy, just whatever it took, and the material sucked.
But you had a passion for it, and I think that was one thing that was somewhat lacking, is because it was very hard for me to stand, you know, having come from, you know, corporate America, where I was literally managing $1 billion worth of shit, where the time value of money is the whole reason you're standing there. But now you're in front of a stylist who just watched perform a function where it damaged their hair and it took them 7 hours, and you're wondering why they won't give you a fucking chance. And that is why you do not put the engineer CEO in front of the customer.
Okay, so there we go.
That is
what's
why.
really interesting is, so circling back to Gary Vee.
Great for coaching, not good for hair.
Circling back to Gary Vee, I was watching one of his videos today, because that's part of the things that I do is I take time, I do personal development, I watch content from my avatar so I can continue learning. He was talking about culture in company, and he said the power of culture is in firing. And I was just like, what?
Well, you have
and
to.
He goes, when you're hiring, you're taking a guess. You're taking a chance, and it's a guess as whether or not it's going to work. Firing, staff turnover sucks, and all that money you invested is gone, and you have to start from scratch. But there's certainty in firing.
And that opportunity cost, because, you know, the challenge is we see this in big organizations. And I was just talking to somebody about this, because I look at everything like a small business and my small business, including your training programs and everything else you put into it. But think about it like this. You have 4 people that work for you, and one person is not doing their fucking job. The other 3 people hate you. And not only that, I mean, that's a very strong use of words, but here's the other thing. They have to carry that person. And not only that, they might not tell you. And single-handedly, that cancer of the person that is not carrying their weight can literally pull the entire company down.
So I hear what you're saying. And here's what I would suggest in a situation like that to anybody, because basically what we're looking at here is a limitation.
Yeah.
We're saying, okay, one person can ruin a company. If you let that cancer spread, how do you stop that?
Yeah.
And I'm sure people that are
Honestly.
listening, they're like, dude, I go through this all the time at work. There's just one. I had this on Facebook the other day. This guy's like, yo, I want to be positive. I want to stay positive. But there's this one guy at work that just is so negative. I got to listen to him all day.
Then
Like,
sometimes you got to leave.
well, you have to leave. But how do you remedy that situation? So you got, like you gave an example. You got 4 people. One of them is, you know, a piece of shit. And the other 3 probably hate you, is what you said. You're assuming that they hate you, and they have to carry the load, and they're bitter. So how do you fix things?
Where they're resentful, right?
What's that?
They're resentful. Hate is a
resentful.
strong word, yeah.
But what I'm getting at is that was the viewpoint that you had on it. And what I instantly said was, you're assuming that they hate you because you don't actually know, which means that we need to get down there and we need to figure out what's happening at the ground level.
Well, yeah,
so
you
how
might
would
not
you
even know there's a
solve that
problem.
problem? You would do things like having one-on-ones with your employees, having time getting to know them outside of work, earning their trust.
And you have to take action, because the problem is that they have to create a safe place to share that with you. And you have to be willing to make the difficult decisions. You know, one of the reasons why there's an XO and a CO on a submarine is because the CO closes the hatch. Because if you don't close that hatch and you have a leak, and sometimes you might lose the loss of 2 people, you're going to lose the whole fucking ship.
That is very true.
And coming from the military, you become very aware of that. And not that you're trying to be cutthroat, but here's the thing is that the organization exists for the organization. And without its health and prosperity, the organization will cease to exist.
Well, okay, now I totally believe in that, because without the health and prosperity of Body Spartan, it ceases to exist. So culture, like I said, I fired a bunch of people. I knew what was going on.
Yeah.
I knew what was happening in the background, and
They
I just
probably
fired
knew
them.
it was going to come too, right?
What's that?
Did they know it was going to come too?
No, they didn't. They did not know that their heads were on the chopping block, but I gave them so many chances. And I finally said, look, it's my responsibility to grow this company. And I want everybody in it to be happy because there's just so much. I mean, you can see the writing on the wall when people are talking shit. You can see the writing on the wall when things aren't getting done. But like I said, when it gets down to it, I'm the CEO. It's my responsibility. So when I tried, I fired him. And embracing change, what would I have done differently? I would have been on the daily having some sort of meeting. Like right now, like I would do the whole gratitude thing that we've done on other podcasts where we start the day with 5 minutes in gratitude. It's changed multi-million-dollar companies. It's helped startups become incredibly prosperous. Vishen Lakhiani, he's the founder of Mind Valley. He starts his company every day with daily gratitude. And it changes the mindset of everybody in the company and everybody that you're around. And this works for families, it works for spouses, it works for just people that have significant others like you, Mrs. Williams, or Miss Williams. That was weird. Sorry.
Not yet.
Sorry, Miss Williams. But if we start our day in gratitude, where we stand around and we think about what we're grateful for, or we write down what we're grateful for, or like Priscilla and I and Mia do, we sit in a circle. I got my cup of coffee. Priscilla has a cup of coffee. We talk about what we're grateful for this day. It changes the whole outlook of where we're going with that. And what I want you guys to do right now is, if you're driving, whatever, I don't care where you are, I want you to think about one thing that you are not willing to change right now. So take a second and think about one thing that you're not willing to change. Is it, I'm not willing to get a second job? Is it, I'm not willing to give up the last 2 episodes of Game of Thrones? Is because those are fucking coming, dude.
Don't I haven't watched it. I fell asleep last night.
Oh my God. They're coming. Trust me. What is the one thing? Just pick one thing that you're not willing to change on. And then what I want you to do is, once you have that one thing that you're not willing to change, maybe it's like, I'm not willing to give up bodybuilding, or I'm not willing to, bend on this thing that my wife and I were arguing about, or my spouse and I were arguing about, or I'm not willing to do this, whatever it is. I want you to think about a time when you were not willing to change in the past. And I want you to think about the negative effects of that. And you have to be non-selfish. And in this exercise, you cannot point fingers. You cannot put blame on somebody else. This is a non-finger pointing exercise. Fingers stay above the belt.
I'll put them in my pocket.
No back and pull, Christina. Fingers stay above the belt. And you have to be able to look at yourself and go, okay, what were the negative effects of me not being willing to change? What happened? And what was the constant outward explosion of that? What was the ripple effect that caused? And then once you have that, I want you to think about a time that you were willing to change and what the positive effects were. So first, think about a time that you were not willing to change and what kind of negative outcome it had. And it may not have been immediate. It may have been something that happened down the road, or it may have compounded where, for Priscilla and I, there were many times that I was not willing to change. She had asked, and hey, I need you to do this and that.
It's always hard in relationships.
It is, but I'm just being totally transparent, like we always promise to do. I needed to make a change.
And don't we find that that's usually where the change is being asked, is when we're reflecting and looking at a partner, a loved one, a family member, or whatnot? Because I don't think that on our own we can always recognize that we have to change, that we need to change, until somebody kind of raises their hand, or there's some kind of life event.
Yeah, and it's usually after the fact when, like you said, like this big life event happens. So, like a lot of times it's couples splitting, going different ways.
Well, how many times we say, well, when they hit rock bottom,
yes,
and it's like, what the fuck does that really mean? You know what I mean? Like, what is rock bottom? Because everybody's is different. And the sad thing is that it's like you try not to hit that, right? But people buy away from pain, not towards pleasure. That's where change is made, typically. Away from pain, not towards pleasure. And take a second to think about that, because it's a big one. It's important.
And I fully agree. And so when you hit rock bottom, say it again.
So
Priscilla opened the door. She's like,
I think that's usually when people are either like looking to change, or they're looking at someone else, and what you'll hear them say is, well, when they hit rock bottom, it's something that we think that we have to hit that in order to make that change. And the reason I said that is because people will buy away from pain. I'm experiencing that maximum pain threshold, and this can't do anymore, instead of towards pleasure. And when you look at the body, a transformation, a relationship transformation, any of those are all towards the positive. But the problem is, and what I find funny is that there usually needs to be some kind of catalyst to wake them the fuck up, to go, I can't do this anymore.
Unfortunately, that does happen quite a bit. And a lot of times you do have to hit your quote. I'm doing the Dr.
The
Evil
air
quotes.
quotes.
The air quotes. Rock bottom.
Ooh.
Or what you think is rock bottom at the time. Because I've hit rock bottom like 6 times, dude. I'm like, I can't do it. My life's over. It's done. Like
the key is to try to be able to
dig a hole, bury myself into the backyard.
Well,
I'm
and that's
done,
kind of
son.
mine, right? So when you sent me this list and I was thinking about those, mine is really not to lower my standards. And
It should never be. No.
But that's the hard part, is because we don't realize that when we start involving other people, other things, our jobs, relationships and whatnot, is that we do start to lower these standards. I tell people, Gabe, do you know how to cook a frog?
Yeah, I do actually. I know where you're going with this. So
You know
go.
where I'm
do
going.
it. Yeah, do it.
You put the frog in lukewarm water and you slowly turn up the heat, and that frog will never fucking jump out.
It has
Because-
no idea it's being boiled.
It really doesn't. And that's the problem with, I think, a lot of us, and especially in relationships where we get ourselves caught. And even on a fitness journey, do you know how many people out there are not starting a program probably because of somebody in their life? And I don't even mean that they've told them no. It's literally that, what does that mean? Well, my friend's not like me anymore. I've seen people lose. And let me tell you, one of the first things that I sit down and I tell a client when they start with me is somebody's not going to like the fact that you're going to make fucking progress. And I don't know if it's because they've never seen progress, because they've been buying all these other plans and engaging in things that don't work. But let me tell you, that's not why we're together. And that's not how Body Spartan works either. But you're going to have 2 lanes form in your life.
Absolutely.
Those that fucking support you, and that those that, guess what, my loves, they never were going to support you anyways.
And that's where you and we've
And
told
I'm
people.
sorry.
Yeah, it's true. But no, you're absolutely right, and you have to break away from those people. You
Yeah.
absolutely do. You are the cumulative sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And if
Yeah.
those people in your life are not happy about where you're transitioning to in your life, you gotta cut them loose. And you know what's funny is we've done an entire podcast just on that alone, about cutting
Yeah.
people out of your life that hold you down or that will say negative things.
When they
And
want to try to make you think that that's you still, that last person, you know? TD Jakes is a great.
do you say titty?
Titty. TD.
Welcome back, Priscilla.
TD Jakes
Speaking of which.
TD Jakes is a pastor, and he has this great saying where he talks about washing your face. You are no longer that person anymore. Don't let anyone convince you that you are that person still wearing that mask. Wash your face.
I like that.
And be this new person, because it takes about a year. It really does.
Well, you said 2 things earlier in your about 2 minutes ago. You were talking about standards, and we were talking about hitting rock bottom, and these lead perfectly into the last 2 points. And just a quick recap: number 1, be limitless; 2, embrace failure; and 3, be willing to change. But 4 and 5 kind of meld together right now. And number 4 is focus on solutions. And number 5 is raise your standards. So focusing on solutions, when you're at rock bottom, you were talking about people gravitating towards pain rather than focusing on the thing that makes you fearful. If you focus on the solution, you'll be able to find the way out. And many, many times we're controlled by fear. Because when we're down and we're rock bottom, we're on the ground, we're just like, it can't get any worse, or I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm fearful because, they're going to come take my car, they're going to repo my car, or I'm going to lose my job, whatever it may be. If we're focused on that, instead of being focused on, all right, this is my current situation, I want to be here. How do I get from, again, point A to point B? I'm down here, rock bottom, I got to crawl out of a damn cave. What's the first thing I'm going to do? I'm going to look for the first rock to grab, the first hole to stick my fingers in and start pushing my way up to the top. Well,
And sometimes you need to saw your arms and your legs off and get out.
Yeah.
Remember when we were talking to Raj, and he's like, I had this friend that I met
which Raj?
that was locked in a cave. We met him in Vegas, and we're sitting out having a pool party.
Yeah.
And he's like, I have this friend that I met, and he was mining, and it caved in, and the guy couldn't get out, and he wanted to survive so bad that the things that held him in certainty and comfort, he sawed them off.
Wow.
So that he could live. And it reminds me of a podcast that we did a few weeks ago. This motorcycle guy, he wanted to
Oh, Uribe. God.
be in the race. And so what does he do? He cuts his finger off.
Yeah, he smashed his fingers so bad that the tendon was shot.
Sometimes it's about cutting your losses and moving forward.
That's so crazy because, you know what, I when you were talking about that, Gabe, I was thinking part of the first thing that I do when I look at a situation, talking about managing fear, is I think, well, what's the fucking worst thing that can happen? And typically it's that you're going to die. Okay, well, what's the likelihood I'm going to die? Pretty slim. Okay, so what's the next fucking worst thing that's going to happen? I'll have to ride my bike to the gym. Is that doable? Well, I own a bike. It's going to kind of suck for a little bit.
I can do it.
But yeah, and I actually remember telling people, well, you own a bike, right? Well, yeah. Well, then I think you have transportation.
It's really going to chew at my Louis, though.
I mean, but you see what I'm saying is that when you actually put things into perspective and you're like, what's the worst possible thing without being stupid that's going to happen? And you look at that and you're like, you know what? If that were to happen, I guess it wouldn't be so bad. Because the alternative is this. Well, then how fucking bad do you want it?
There you go. Yeah. Find the solution. How bad do you want it? You want it as bad as you want to breathe. You want it as bad as you want to live.
And sometimes you go for that thing, which you want. You're going to strive. You're going to claw your way to get in what you want. And sometimes the solution is to let go and cut off your arms and your legs so that you can be free.
Because it's almost that moment of clarity, right?
And like,
you know,
it's the moment of clarity.
It's like, how much do you fight for something that is not for you? And then you're able to step in, even if you don't have legs. I'm just saying. Maybe you're cutting down from the knee. But
what do you call a little man with no arms?
Dove
finish
your
filming
way
first.
to something that, like, if the door closes, the window opens, right? So what's on the other side of the window?
I don't know, but I know what you call a little man with no arms and no legs on a barbecue.
What do you call it?
Patty.
Can I just say something before we change off of this? One thing I've really found and what I was thinking about when you said these topics is you also have to be willing to let those change around you. And what's so hard when we're trying to manage relationships is that it doesn't just change. It doesn't just take one thing to change. It actually takes 5 experiences of that different change for your partner to really see that you are trying to actively change. So take, for example, like your relationship, right? And let's say that there's something that Priscilla does that, like, I don't know. Let's just say that every time your best friend, Brad, gets brought up, she goes, hey, Brad. And so then you start to not want to bring up Brad, right?
Okay.
And she's like, you know what? I'm going to really try to do better. That when you bring up Brad, I don't want to punch you in the face. Right? So the first time she kind of goes, she cringes a little bit, but he's like, she's going to do it again. You have to give her the opportunity to improve and to give you a new experience. And what I would say is with anyone starting a new program, give yourself the fucking opportunity to improve.
There you go.
And don't just, it's not just about giving up. It's letting you understand that you're not going to make a life change overnight. It's baby steps.
Look at me.
Dude, and you're gonna fucking take
seriously, like I've got tears in my eyes because I catch the vibration of what she's talking about.
It's real.
It's not just about your freaking butt.
Yeah.
Who cares about your butt? Who cares about your biceps? This is about life.
It's about life.
And if you want to grow, like, you've got to give yourself improvement.
You do.
Or room for improvement. Because we're all going to backslide. I'm having a backslide moment right now. A backslide time that I haven't had in 6 months. And I've been through some stuff. And I've forced myself to freaking grow. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Why am I back here?
You got to sit in it.
You have to sit, and if you don't sit in it, if you choose not to sit in it, you will experience it again. Only it will be more difficult than what you are experiencing now.
It will.
So you have to roll with. Oh, that was so well said.
And what's the number one thing we talked about startups that, and not just startups, but people that we are robbed of, is time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely.
It is
time is the one thing that we cannot get back.
If you could stop being so profound, that'd be great. Thanks.
Well, speaking of profound, the last thing on the list was to raise your standards. And it sounds so easy just to raise your standards. Like, okay, yeah, I want to eat, I'm going to eat the USDA choice cut instead of the prime. Whichever one's better.
Now,
you know what? I'm going to eat the 90% ground beef instead of the 80. That's really not the standards that we're talking about here. We're talking about, you know, if you're used to driving an older vehicle, but you want to be in a Rover, you got to raise your standards. You have to expect that is the bottom of the barrel for you. Like the Rover is like the bottom of the barrel. Because I remember when we did that, like we went out, we got the Rover at that one time. And it was our standard. And now we know what the standard is. Like, dude, we got to find a way to make sure that we have that in our life. And that sounds real superficial. And that's not what this is really about.
But it's also an emotional standard. Like, okay, if your waist is, I don't know, what's standard age waist, like 26 inches. Like,
for girls or for guys?
I don't know. I was just thinking, I don't know.
Dudes are like 32 and then chicks are like 20
go off clothing sizes because that might be a little easier for people.
I'm just thinking like tape measurement. And you're like, here is my freaking set point. I will not go over. What was the number again? What's the number?
26. Yeah.
Okay, we'll just do 26 or whatever. My waist is not going to go over 26. And if it goes over 26, then I know I am going to follow these certain disciplines until I get back to 26.
Okay.
And then there's my standard. And my standard is mostly an emotional standard. It doesn't matter what I've gone through. I've decided that I will allow myself 60 seconds of whining, complaining, being that human being that's like, wait, everything sucks. And then I step back into my freaking power.
That was a Uribe thing. He had those he has that 60 seconds of bitching or whatever he called it, of venting.
He has his 60 seconds of, I thought it was gratitude.
No, it was whatever it needed to be. Like if things are going on wrong, it was this is Jason Uribe we're talking about, Moto America.
This is a little bit different.
Guy, like super fast motorcycle racer.
This is a little bit different. So when you have an emotion or something that is not desired, it's allowing yourself that 60 seconds to be a little baby. And to step back in your power and be who you want to be, because that is your set point. We all have those moments of backsliding.
I love that. You know why I love that is because earlier today, and even like Gabe, when we started talking about this in the car trouble, is I announced, I go, look, there are two fucking things I don't want to do. And I announced them, and they're my excuses, and I held on to them with two hands. And I said, I don't want to kill spiders, and I don't want to deal with anything on my vehicle. And I allowed my 60 seconds to go on a little longer than maybe it should. And then I realized, you know what?
60 seconds.
These are your crutches and you're holding on to them. How do they feel? And they're holding you back. And you know what? The situation is going to be whatever it's going to be.
And when you said that, I held on to you like so tight. But honestly, I really wanted to scoop you up like a little baby because I know you haven't had that. I won't kill them, but I will let them out. I will set them free.
Okay, good.
Well, with that, you got to raise your standards and find a dude that'll kill those spiders for you.
I do.
See, there you go. So you got them. But looping back into kind of a fitness aspect with this that a lot of people can probably relate to, especially as guys. I'm not so much sure as females. You might have something. Maybe it's like a squat with girls or a leg press with girls, but with guys, I remember when I was younger and early on in the bodybuilding career, I wanted to bench 225.
Yeah.
I'm like, I gotta get there. Like I gotta get there. And once I got there, I was like, I'm never taking that second plate off. Never. I will not do 185. I will not do a plate and a 10. I will be doing 2 plates. And then when I started going up a little bit more,
and that's your set point.
That was my standard. It raised, and then I'm like, now I want 3 plates. I want 315.
I think women go on clothes. We don't really look at, and that's an any variation from professional bodybuilding and whatnot. I think what happens is they have their favorite, and you see this in a lot of picture transformations, is they'll put on something that they wore in high school, or they'll put on their wedding dress, or something that they held is kind of like the standard they're trying to get back to. Not necessarily the standard they're trying to keep. I don't think that we normally find people in that space, but they're like, look at this shirt that I was wearing back in high school, or this dress, and that's kind of the standard they're trying to get back to or maintain. I think for women, it's probably clothing.
It's kind of like a personal identity.
Well, because they have a different relationship with the scale. But yeah, so I would definitely say that clothing is probably
some guys are very, very similar.
Well,
they're trying to gain.
Yeah,
if
mostly, yeah.
If your standard is that you believe that you're going to go to the gym and you're going to work really hard, you're going to remain the same, that's the outcome you're going to get.
Yeah.
But if your standard is that I believe I'm going to go to the gym because I have this badass new program from Body Spartan, shameless plug, and you walk in there and you believe it's going to work, your standard just got raised because your standard is going to be whatever your goal is. So if it's, hey, I want to have a 26-inch waist for the females, or if the guys, I want to have a 32-inch waist.
What is 26 inch? I don't know why that number came to mind.
Is it 24?
I think
or is it 26?
I'm typically like 28.
I don't know. I'm like 34.
But I wear waist trainers.
I don't know why that number came to mind. Anyways.
The point is you got to raise your standards, and you have to make sure that you clearly understand what those standards are. Because if you're expecting something less, you're allowing yourself to live a life that's less than what it could be allow myself to introduce.
And I think those standards are really what's
It actually
protecting you.
sounded fine.
It sounded terrible. It's the Benadryl probably kicking.
I think those
no, they're not
standards.
fake.
The standards are what's protecting you. You
Your
know?
current standards are what's
what
protecting you from breaking out of your cycle and advancing and growing and having progress. One of the 6 human needs, progress. A second one, growth. Your current standards are preventing you from experiencing progress and growth. So if you raise your standards, you're going to make a goal for yourself, which means that you're going to have growth and you're going to have progress. Those are 2 of the 6 human needs that need to be satisfied. And so that is 5 life-changing secrets. 1, be limitless. 2, embrace failure. 3, be willing to change. 4, focus on solutions. And 5, raise your standards.
I love those.
I think that's pretty damn good. If you guys didn't write that on your hand or on a piece of paper or you didn't get out your phone and type them in, dude, you need to do that. Be limitless. Embrace failure. Be willing to change. Focus on solution and raise your standards. We're going to wrap this up tonight, guys, but I'm going to leave you with this. Don't forget the All Access Pass, either 14-day free trial right now. This is your chance to have access to every single Body Spartan program ever. Forge 5 with Brian Cage comes out at the end of May. Rev 2, end of June. The Big Arm Bible with Danny Broadhurst. Oh, well, I forgot to say Rev 2 is with Christina sitting next to us. Sorry. Big Arm Bible with Danny Broadhurst, end of July. And then right now we've got our 35% off supplements. Free shipping all through May using the code MAY35 at checkout. Guys, girls, now's the time to make a change. Now is the time to grab control of your life. Use these 5 key elements that we gave you because time is counting down. You get one of these, guys. Go make a change. We'll see you next week.
For more free information on fitness, nutrition, and bodybuilding, visit us at www.bodyspartan.com.
Undeniable. I'm a man with a plan, understand.